revise the agenda as necessary. Are there any changes that we need to add?
No, I've made some notes to myself about topics I want to cover, but it doesn't really change the
Okay.
main topic of each agenda item. So,
Okay, and we don't have any brand new people
right.
because Galena was on last week.
Last time.
So in the minutes, I read the minutes. I thought they were fine. So anybody else with any edits or any changes? No. So they stand as you last distributed them.
Right.
So
Okay.
hot topics, Gaza, Israel. Oh, the flotilla. Yeah, I actually wrote to Congress people saying, they need to protect the people. And there are
Right.
50 boats.
Over 50. Yes. So I went just a few minutes ago to their website. So they have a live stream, but they only do it every so often. So tomorrow at 9 a.m. some time zone, they will be live streaming from some of the boats. Okay. So at the moment, I think some of them are being tracked, by GPS. So I don't know how close they are, but you've read that somebody is dropping incendiary devices on them, trying to get the decks to burn and things like that, which is, of course, minor than actually being bombed. But so that's going on. But two other things came to my attention, which is Senator Merkley of Oregon has put in a Senate Resolution 410, and that resolution, I have it up on my screen. Hang on a minute. It's a resolution calling on the president, that is President Trump, to recognize a demilitarized state of Palestine as consistent with international law and the principles of a two-state solution alongside a secure state of Israel. And apparently this is the first time there has been a resolution of this kind in our Congress. So he had 7 or 8 co-sponsors: Van Hollen, Welsh, Saunders, Kane, Ms. Smith, Ms. Baldwin, and Ms. Hirono. So they've submitted this. It's a resolution, okay? And as usual, a lot of whereases. Whereas in 1947, the United Nations General Assembly passed Resolution 181 calling for a partition of Palestine into 2 states. And whereas in 67, they had another resolution, and in 88, they had another resolution. It goes through all the resolutions. And recently, whereas over 140 of the 193 United Nations member states currently recognize Palestinian statehood, including major United States allies, and then a bunch of other whereases, then they call on the president to recognize a demilitarized state of Palestine. So that is now, of course, open for more senators to sign on. So what I think Disarm members should be doing is writing to their senators, unless it was one of the ones that I've already mentioned, and say, please co-sign this resolution, S-Res, it's called a res, S-Res 410. Okay, so that's
418.
No, 410.
0. Thank
410. Sorry. So along a similar lines, Representative Ro Khanna, who is a congressional member in a district adjacent to my district, has written a letter to Secretary of State Rubio. And again, I will try to bring that up. He wrote, so the resolution went in on the 18th of September. This letter was sent, well, actually both to Trump and Rubio on the 19th of September. We are writing to request that the United States officially recognize a Palestinian state, as this tragic moment has highlighted for the world the long overdue need to recognize Palestinian self-determination. Then, of course, he goes through other people's announcements, Macron's announcements, and then there are 40 odd signatures, right? So when you do this as a Congress, you try to get other people to sign on, and they actually sign the letter. So you've got Jayapal and Pocan and Kaza and Escobar and McGovern. I'm just picking out the ones you may have heard of. Huffman, Al Green, Robert Garcia, and so on. I went through these. These were the people who signed it on the 19th. I don't see my own representative, Liccardo. Okay, I see Garamendi. We know he's near Sacramento. Judy Chu, you've probably heard of her. Bill Foster, I know he's in Illinois. Takuda, I believe, is Hawaii. So again, I can send this. There's a, it's a PDF. I can send this to the WILPF Disarm and ask, if you don't see your congressman or congressperson on that list who signed it on the 19th, then say you want them to, that you're upset they haven't, etc. Because I'm sure when representatives do these letters, they do send it out, to a whole bunch of people and ask them to sign it. Okay, so
I would,
It's been almost 2 weeks.
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to see it. I don't want to get, I think the fact that we're the ones responsible in many ways for this situation there, I don't even want to use the word anymore, is that I'm not sure unless it's very general and it just approves of it, because the countries that are really going to do this are not so much us. It's the countries that are really more active now in the peace process. And I think that unless the 410 says something about that,
So what do you mean the ones who are more active? I mean,
410, that's right. They're more much more involved in now the negotiations. We saw the fiasco in Qatar. We saw now Pakistan, and also they're also developing some armies to be a little more forceful. I don't know if they're actually going to do anything, but I think that if we're going to make a proposal to make the two-state, that it really has to be with some awareness of what's going on, of our role, maybe not our role, but certainly recognize that you have to have the representatives of that country as part, the Palestine people have to be involved. I just don't know what it says, so I'm a little
so we don't know what it's right. So
skeptical.
So yeah, and we don't know what's going on in the background. A lot of times there are talks and people being consulted, and we don't see it. So,
Yeah.
but if you
May I ask a question about this? Once again, that was in 2012. I went to Israel and Palestine with an interfaith group, and that's a while ago. And even then, it was clear, because of all of the settlements, all of the checkpoints, that a two-state solution was really unrealistic. So I, like I said, I'm new, about writing letters and so on. How productive is it? Because I think what Ellen said is the Qatar and Iran and Egypt and so on. What we're talking is war. We're not talking about, signing somewhere in the United Nations. So anyway, I just am wondering how realistic is it to address our Congress people about something like that?
Right. Yeah, well, the unfortunate thing is that us constituents addressing our Congress people and our senators is one of the few things we can do. We can also stand outside their offices in their hometowns and try to ask to meet their representative and what have you. Other organizations, as we discussed earlier, Code Pink, they turn up in the Congress and make a brouhaha. We have members who, don't do that kind of thing. So anyway, this is, this is the kind of thing. Yes, Joan, I see Joan's hand up.
So not having seen the resolution, you've been talking about the two-state aspect. Does it also talk about, bombing and killing and so on and so forth and stopping that? Or
let's see, it says, whereas key Arab countries in the Middle East, most notably the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, have expressed a willingness to normalize diplomatic and economic relations with the state of Israel if there is a clear and irreversible path towards Palestinian statehood. Then it talks about Palestinians writing to Rubio. Does it talk about the awful things going on? Well,
it's saying
deepening of the occupation undermine the intentional the Israelis' intentional expansion of settlements in the West Bank and deepening of the occupation further undermine prospects for peace and security. So that's the.
So it's not really about the horrible things that are happening now.
Not that I can see in the.
It's focused on the two-state aspect.
Yeah. So and what we just have to hope is our senators are smart enough to know, because the point is you want a lot of other senators to sign on, right? So you have to be careful what you say in order that somebody who might not sign on if you went on too much about something wouldn't sign on. So I'm guessing that's the equation they're doing in their head, trying to get more people to sign on. So like, Bernie Sanders.
They have to do this, even though I don't think I'd sign, because I'm not waiting for Saudi Arabia to make friends with Israel. That's not what we're trying to stop genocide. But what I think they have to, because I think over 100 nations have already said we want a two-state solution.
140.
Or we want a state, Palestine state, huh?
140.
140. Okay. And they've also throughout a lot, yeah. So we're talking even France, Spain, Italy, all these places have already signed on without even.
And
so
apparently,
we have to, how do we look if we don't?
Yeah, and the US is the only Security Council member who has not said 1 to 2 states. So Russia, France, China, they've all said, anyway, yeah. So isolating the US and pointing out how bad they are is kind of one of the things, one of these strategies. Okay, I'm sure we're over our 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the Ukraine-Russia war. I've given you a link there to listen to Mr. Bibi speaking, and so just to note that I heard at the arms control annual meeting that I'm going to talk about more. Somebody was saying, this Senator Van Hollen was saying, Trump tried to cozy up, he said, and appeal Putin, and Trump has finally realized that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And so he's now, he's got to try a different tact, and I'm not sure what he's doing actually. Galena told us earlier that, Trump changes his mind, says different things. Hard to know one day from the next.
Does he have a mind?
Oh, sorry. It does have a mind. So, people, it's worrisome that their planes, Russian planes, are going into the airspace above Poland and things like that. NATO is allowed by its own rules to scramble its fighters and scare them off. I don't remember if they have. So somebody's trying to find something, as Ellen was looking for something probably. So the particular worry about Ukraine and Russia is that Russia has nuclear weapons, which Putin, since the get-go, has kind of held as a threat. Oh, if you don't do thus and such, you'll suffer an even worse fate. I'm paraphrasing. On the other hand, I read that Lavrov, right, the foreign minister of Russia, is saying, "Oh no, we don't want to use nuclear weapons." Okay, if I've remembered correctly. So they were all at the UN this past week, right? Zelensky spoke. I don't know who spoke for Putin. Was it Lavrov, the foreign minister, spoke? Lavrov, pardon me.
I just put it in the chat, the Lavrov thing.
Yeah, right.
So you can get it and watch it. For me, he's the only one that makes any sense on all this. He's sounding good. Whether people believe him is up to them, but he certainly sounds like he's giving options for peace. He's much more reasonable than our guy, than this Rubio or this Hexet.
So I don't remember. Has there been a UN resolution in the General Assembly that says Russia should leave?
From where?
From Ukraine. Has the General Assembly, I just don't remember. I'm sorry, it's 3.5 years since he invaded. And I can't remember what resolutions may have been passed. But anyway, so, okay, well, that's, please read Mr. Beebe's, watch Mr. Beebe's, it was like 30 minutes. Then he took a fairly large number of questions asking for clarity. He has written a book a few years ago about Ukraine and Russia. And so, again,
what is his special status that we should read him?
Well, he's a researcher and a author on Ukraine. I forget which institute he's with.
Quincy.
It is the Quincy.
Yeah.
He's at the Quincy Institute.
His name again?
It's BEEBE. It's in the agenda. George.
BE.
And I have put there in the agenda the link to his talk. All right. It's on YouTube and you can watch it at your leisure. I'm sorry, I don't have his notes in front of me.
He was in the CIA.
Yes.
Analyst for Russia in the CIA, but now he's with the Quincy Institute.
Right. So he's studied Ukraine and Russia for a long time. He worked for the CIA, right? So it doesn't mean he, he's now, turned towards wanting peace. So I see Gloria has joined us. When did anybody notice when Gloria came in? I just noticed. Just came in. All right. Gloria, we started without you. We're up to, I think we're about up to 4C. I think we're done with 4B. We
Yeah.
waited a while hoping for more people, and then we finally started.
So this is the statement you want shortened, but
Yes.
you want someone to help you shorten it.
Right. So I went in, every week I delayed, Israel bombed a different country. And so I had to keep adding countries to this long statement. But I have to admit, I used other people's explanations. I used newspaper reports. What did the Syrian president say? What did the Tunisians say? So I know it got too long. And I'm sure, and then I did what Gloria asked, okay? At the end of each section on which country we're talking about being bombed, I have what we want WILPF members to do, and then after that, what we want other institutions to do, all right?
Mm.
So depending on who you were sending the statement to, you would choose one or the other, okay? And by other institutions, I include everybody else. UN missions, other organizations, Secretary of State Rubio, all those people, they would see the section that says for all other, and only when you sent to WILPF members, because we are asking WILPF members to try to do things, they would get the in italic part that says WILPF members, please do this. So, but I know, I went, because as I say, every week I turned around and there was another country they just bombed. I mean, it's just atrocious. Nobody's telling them off, except when Netanyahu addressed the UN last week, a whole bunch of people walked out.
Mhm.
Now,
Well, if people are going to sign on to 410, this is a good opportunity to send that letter with it, to have
right.
this letter attached to
Yes,
the
right. So
410.
410 only just
to
came
letter.
out. Right. 410 didn't exist when I started my statement. So I will indeed mention that, as things come up, I should mention it. So I was hoping that, and Gloria said she didn't want to be the one who actually cut it down. So I was hoping that Shiley, our intern, it might be an exercise that she could do. So Diane, you're going to speak to her tomorrow.
Yes, but
Yes.
she's in Spain and she's
she's in
very
Spain.
busy. So I don't know how many hours she can devote, but yeah, she owes us more time, but
Right, because I think
Oh, great.
having seen how well she did the minutes and her understanding of what's a good idea and what have you, I think it's within her capability. Anyway, later on, Gloria, when we get to 4, we will deal with your letter to Rubio. Okay, that's later in the agenda. I'm just talking about my statement right now.
All right.
So,
okay. So I think we're on to the next item,
yeah.
which is campaign reports.
And I just note that Robin Lloyd has joined us and Ellen Thomas has joined us in the last few minutes.
Yes. Hi.
Okay, fine. Yes.
Okay, so the first one, what did we do on September 21st or September 26th?
Right. So one was the International Day of Peace, and previous meetings here I had given you links to the UN Day. That's again in this agenda, ideas of what you might do. I did see a nice email from Jan Corderman, who's in Des Moines, Iowa, and she sent some of us, I'm not sure if it was just issue committee chairs, a video of a fairly large meeting they had outside in a square in Des Moines with people speaking about the need for peace, and a big banner that said International Day of Peace. So that was good. The Des Moines chapter branch is very good about this. So then the second day that came not that long after was the 26th, which, as I reported, was the UN day. Again, it's a UN designated day for the elimination of nuclear weapons. And the link I've given you in the agenda is to a report that there was an appeal that I got WILPF US to sign on to, bringing the attention of world leaders to the need to abolish nuclear weapons and not end arms racing. Anytime, you know, we say we're going to make some more, and then Russia says, well, then we'll make some more. So those will tell you what happened around the 26th. And then it happened to be a Friday, so my branch has its weekly vigil at the busy corner in the middle of Palo Alto, and so we concentrated on this nuclear abolition day. So this was an icon that was created for people to use, to print out. So it's like a hand which kind of says stop, and then there's the normal against nuclear weapons.
Very nice, very effective.
Yeah, so we used that at our corner, and I had a photo taken of me, and then I sent you all that. I tweeted it. And then at the same time, ICANN and other people told us that Ghana and Kyrgyzstan, I can never say it, one of the stands.
Kyrgyzstan, yeah.
Kyrgyzstan.
Thank you. Signed on to the TPNW, right? One ratified it, one, I think, acceded to it. So bringing to 99 countries who have said they will pay attention to the TPNW and not have anything to do with nuclear weapons. And if you look at how many countries there are in the UN, I think they say 193. Anyway, the 99 takes us over half. So that's why I sent you again. I sent to Disarm, and I think Ellen also sent the ICANN article that pointed out now we're over half the countries in the world. And when you look at some of those countries like Nigeria and Mexico and the Philippines, and Indonesia, who have signed on, they are very populous countries. And so I haven't had time to do the analysis. I suspect somebody has. If you add up all the people who live in all those countries who've signed the TPNW, I bet you find that over half the world's population has probably signed. I can't swear to it, but the point is, it's not just the countries, but they represent a lot of people. So that's what's been going on.
Well, thank you for that, Cheryl. And I just want to say that I announced in Quaker meeting your announcement about more than half of the nations of the world have now signed the TPNW. So thank you for that.
Right. Well, I just, luckily I'm on the ICANN email list, but then I'm also on the Nuke News that Ellen stewards for us, the Nuke News. And so it was also in Ellen's Nuke News email that had just happened. And of course countries often choose a significant day to do their signing. And because it was the International Day for the Elimination of Nuclear Weapons, that's why 2 countries said, oh, well, let's do it on that day. It'll be more significant. So those are the kind of things that are happening. And so the last thing is the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. Okay, so, and I have a piece of paper about that. So the Comprehensive Test Ban exists, right? The US in its usual self, has not ratified the CTBT. Okay, and they're the only, and when it was written, certain countries had to ratify it for it to come into force. So it's actually not in force because the US hasn't ratified it. Ratification happens in our Senate. Okay, all treaties have to be ratified by our Senate. Somebody like the president can sign a treaty, but it really doesn't apply to us until the Senate has ratified it. So it actually has 187 states have ratified it, but it's actually not fully operational. But they do have, so it's, I'm just reading here this statement that I signed us on as Disarm because there wasn't time to actually ask Linda to sign, so I just did it on behalf of Disarm. It's reinforcing the global norm against nuclear testing, right? So in fact, nobody has done any testing, explosive testing in the atmosphere or underwater for many years because of this CTBT. And so even though we haven't ratified it, the US has been observing it, okay? But now we hear that somebody in the Congress has said, oh, we should start testing again, you know?
Yeah.
Possibly because, you know, one would argue, well, some of these nuclear weapons have been sitting around for a long time. How are we sure they're going to still work? Well, because the Lawrence Livermore lab has that enormous laser thing, is part of their, and then they do a lot of computer modeling. That's why they own some of the biggest computers in the world. So they can model how old these weapons are and, you know, make a pretend, in a model of in the computer, make a pretend explosion and will they actually go off? So that is, so every year the Lawrence Livermore Lab director has to promise to the Department of Energy that he is sure that all the weapons we have will explode if they're needed. Okay, so he, and probably the director of Los Alamos also. So there are really no reasons to have to explode a couple of old ones just to prove. So as you know, the ICBM tests that go off from Vandenberg, that some of us have stood outside Vandenberg in Southern California to protest, they're just testing that the missiles work, okay? They just, because they take an old missile, they truck it all across the country from North Dakota or Wyoming, and then they have a whole silo there that mimics the silos in the middle of the country, and they fire it off and prove that it works, that they work. And so they assume if one works, then the others that are back in the middle of our country will also work, the missile. So it goes off without an actual weapon, and it's they probably have a weight that represents the weapon, but they don't have an actual weapon in the nose cone of the missile. So I will be going, and I can mention it here, I will be going to Washington, D.C. in the middle of October, and Diane will be joining me if she can drive in. On behalf of the Sierra Club, we were asked to provide people to go to lobby our senators about the CTBT in particular. Some people in the Sierra Club, there is a working group for nuclear weapons, really don't want this testing to restarted. So our job is to go to our senators and ask them to make sure that we don't go backwards on this issue of nuclear testing. Of course, we will talk about other things, not just the CTBT. And when I get a bit lower down, I'll tell you about JCPOA and the New START, two other treaty things that we need to be worried about. So anyway.
Will you go in behalf of WILPF and Sierra Club, or just Sierra Club?
I will officially, I'm on behalf of the Sierra Club, but I will, of course, make sure they understand who I am and that I also work volunteer not work, volunteer for WILF, yes. Even when I went earlier this year for my American Physical Society, which is my professional physicist association, I had a little packet just for WILF, which I handed to the receptionist on top of what I was asking for the APS. My hand was slapped later about that, but anyway, I did it.
What? Maybe Disarm is an organization can go on board with the Sierra Club to ask that. Maybe they.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that we won't just be talking. In fact, there's a gentleman called Mark who is in charge of us, making sure he understands that and he does, that we need to talk about more than just the CTBT. Okay. So, but we go there, we have a meeting in the morning at the Sierra Club national headquarters, and then we hopefully Uber or Lyft over to the Capitol. And I already have my meeting with Schiff's people. Padilla's people are waiting to sort me out. Diane will be meeting with her Virginia senators. So each of us in the team is first meeting our own senators, and then we will get over the next 3 days, Monday afternoon, Tuesday, Wednesday, we will get to meet oodles of senators, I understand. So, and I also am going to try to meet with Ricardo, my own rep, okay, the House rep. So that's the kind of thing that, it sits in this this question of treaties. So we can go on to Norton's bill, and Ellen, I'm hoping that I forgot to say, you will say something about the removal of the White House vigil that I hope everybody has understood. Are you there, Ellen?
I
Yes.
am. Yes. Sorry. Sorry, I'm late. About Norton.
Do you have a
I
link?
haven't heard anything except that when we were having a meeting with Warheads to Windmills, I was asked whether I had notified Norton that WILPF US was supporting the bill, and I thought that I had, and I got in touch with her aide, and he responded and said thank you, and so I think that's taken care of now. But we have, at this point, we have 9 co-sponsors for the bill. 8 of them signed on in when it was introduced, and then 1 has joined recently. I can give you the list if you want to have it. If you want to know who they are,
Something you
they
can
are
in the chat.
Greg, how do you pronounce this? Kesar from Texas, Raul Grijalva from Arizona, who has died, but his daughter has now become, has replaced him. And I think we need to ask the folks from Arizona to try to get her to sign on as quickly as possible. Jim McGovern from Massachusetts, Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, Chelly Pingree from Maine, Delia Ramirez and Jan Schakowsky from Illinois. Jan is leaving. Rashida Tlaib from Michigan, and Shri Thanadar, and I forgot where Shri Thanadar is from. I'll find it. I'm updating the prop1.org homepage today, and so I've got the.
Ellen, could I ask you, hasn't our Vermont folks signed up in previous
Yes.
times, and do they have to sign up again, like Becca?
They have not, and yes, they do.
Okay,
Every session, but no, we have not ever had a Vermont representative sign on.
never?
Never.
Oh, okay.
This is a House bill, not a
The
Senate.
House bill, yeah.
House, yeah, all right.
So can I ask this concept of an organization endorsing, all right? This is to show that the public is also in favor of this House bill. So we've done it for WILPF US, but those of you who belong to other organizations need to persuade your other organizations to also endorse it? And is there a form to fill out, Ellen, or can you give us?
They contact, you mean to ask them? I don't know.
No,
You just,
yeah, no, so Joan belongs to something else in San Jose. She needs to persuade them to endorse this. Who do they write to say we endorse you?
to Trent Holbrook.
Can you put that in the chat, please?
I
Who to
can.
write to if you have another organization who's willing to endorse it? Yeah, Diane, I see your hand.
Yeah, you keep saying a bill, but it's a resolution.
No, it's not. It's a bill.
Oh,
It's HR. You have HR.
R stands for.
House of Representatives. Like S stands
Oh,
for
I
Senate.
thought it was House resolution.
A resolution is HRes.
Yes, yes, it is. It is a continuing source of confusion. I was confused for some time, but I've got it straight now, I think, in my head.
Yeah.
And a bill is much more important than a resolution
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
exactly.
it's also a lot harder to pass.
to pass, right, right.
And
But
and there are people that are saying that the language in this bill is the reason that people aren't signing on to it is because they think that the language of the bill would be better as a resolution than as a bill. And Tim and Wallace has been reaching out to the staff of a representative in Oregon, I think it was, who has said that he would be willing to help revise the language, so that it would be more palatable. And I don't know where we stand on that.
So if you, Ellen, if you could, but before you take time to put something in the chat, the Trent's email, would
Yeah.
you tell us a little more about the house, the vigil being taken down in Lafayette Park? And
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, President Trump was in a press conference, and somebody that was from the right, from a MAGA style publication said, "Did you know that there's a blue tent in Lafayette Park and it's an eyesore?" And he said, "There is? I didn't know that. Put it down, take it down right now." And so the next day, the Secret Service came out with a dog and thoroughly checked the vigil, and didn't find any drugs or weapons or anything nefarious. So 2 days later, the Park Service and the Park Police came and took the tarp that they were using to protect the literature and to protect themselves from the rain and the sun, and but left most everything else. And then a couple of days later, they came back and took the two 4 foot by 4 foot by 1/4 inch signs that are no higher than 6 feet off the ground. And when they were asked why, they said they were too big. But Filipos, who was running the show there, said that he made sure that they complied with what the regulations were. So then they were left with handheld signs, and a lot of them, and some other stuff. Oh, and they also, yeah, and so then they came back a few days ago and after dark and shut down the park and chased everybody out of the park and took everything away. And so Filipos says that he's been talking to the ACLU and some other lawyers who have come to offer to help. He says that he's going there every day during the daytime, and other people are joining him, and they have handheld signs. So the vigil is still going on, but without any of the stuff that was there, except the handheld signs. And so we're
And you were interviewed.
Asking people to go and spend some time there and give the people who are there a break, you know.
I'm going to see if I can squeeze it into my schedule when I'm there lobbying later in October. But Ellen, you were interviewed by several organizations.
Just one, actually. There were several people who reached out to me, but the only one was Al Jazeera that actually interviewed me. And I
Right.
posted to the listserv the link, the story, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, yeah. That was, I mean, they were mostly interviewing the lady, a reporter who's in the Washington Post, who's
She
been
did a
keeping
great
track.
job.
Yeah, she's really done her research, and she's the one who found out there's a Guinness World Record that Concepcion held.
There have been many, 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 many reporters who have written about the vigil, and she's, in my estimation, she's done pretty much the best job. She's done a good job.
So it did get quite, I mean, it wasn't just in the Washington Post that the final
It was
takedown
all over the
was
place,
noticed. It was
yeah.
all over the place. And so this now, of course, it's brought more attention to it than if it hadn't been taken down, right? And hopefully, I do hope that these lawyers who said they will help can get something, because it's been through the courts before, right? Your
Yeah, there
late
were
husband.
regulations written in 1986, and then they've been updated many, many times over the years, and they set certain standards, and we conformed to the standards, and so they let us stay. And after Concepcion died, well, actually after Thomas, my husband, died, and Concepcion was basically the main person maintaining the vigil. Concepcion Picciotto, who died in 2016. Thomas died in 2009. She got in the habit, she was getting pretty old there, and she got in the habit of not rolling up the plastic like we always did. When the rain stopped or the snow stopped, then you would put the plastic away that had protected you and just be exposed to whatever there was there. But she had kept up a little structure made with umbrellas and clear plastic that they tolerated, and they tolerated it. And after she died, and Filipos had taken, well, he took over a year before she died because she was not well. He kept that going, but and there had been times when the police had taken the signs away because people walked away from the signs while he's been doing it also. And so he had set it up so he had a tarp instead of the clear plastic. And I think that was one of the problems, because you can't see through the tarp. And so that justified taking it down. And so I told him that I would buy him a roll of construction clear plastic, construction grade plastic to use, but then they took the signs away, and so that's moot at this point.
Right. Okay, well, Gloria wrote that letter to the editor in response to the first time where it was pointed out it was in danger of being taken down, even before it was actually taken down, right? And so that was published. We got some notice about that.
And for those who don't know, the vigil was founded on June 3rd, 1981 by William Thomas. And he was there the rest of his life for 27 plus years. And Concepcion Picciotto joined him a few months later and helped him. And I showed up in 1984, and he and I got married in the park 6 weeks after we met. And we were together for 25 years before he died. And I was out in front of the White House for 18 of those years. And I provided support at the Peace House that we were able to obtain after Thomas's father died, or mother died, she left us enough money that we got a derelict building and fixed it up and turned it into the Peace House 10 blocks from the White House, and supported the vigil from there. But when Thomas died, then I moved to North Carolina to be with my mother the last year of her life, and that's where I've been ever since. But the vigil has continued.
Yes.
44 years and 2 months plus, because they are still doing it.
People
God
going
bless
there.
them.
Yeah. And people who would never tended to go are now turning up because they've read about it in the newspapers. And so that's great. Okay, well, thank you, Ellen. And
It's a vigil for nuclear disarmament, by the way.
right, and peace in general, right?
Yeah.
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 So Ellen Mass just left us. She explained in the chat where she's gone, and this is a no to NATO meeting that she'd like some of us to go to. Okay, all right. So
I'll put the information in about Trent Holbrook.
Yes, please. Can we go to number 3?
Well, the next thing is the, 3.
Right. So I've already talked about what they call explosive nuclear weapons testing. That's when Diane and I are going to be talking to our senators and other senators. And then want you to pay attention to this online conference that we gave them $150 to co-sponsor this online conference of the World Beyond War. You all can attend for $5 and up. All right, so please do consider that. The date's there, the web page is there.
And
So-
Ray Atchison is speaking at it. So she was on David Swanson's podcast a couple weeks ago, and they talked about the fact that she will be speaking at the conference.
Okay, and she always gives the feminist point of view, which is good.
And the conference is called Abolition. So she was talking about what she believes the different. She wrote a book and she lists 7 things that should be abolished. Anyway, so it fits in very well with the conference.
Okay.
When is this?
October the 24th to the 26th. It's in the agenda. It's an online conference, only online. For me, it starts like on a Friday lunchtime and goes through Sunday.
Right.
And it's all explained there, and $5 and up to actually attend. You know, one can't expect to go to these things for absolutely no money. I gave them more than that to help. Okay. So let me just now briefly tell you about the Arms Control Association annual meeting. Did anybody else here go to that? That was on the 25th, last Thursday. Again, it was coming out of DC, but they made it webcast, as they call it. So I could watch, but I couldn't interact in any way. So it went on for about 5 hours. Okay. There will be a recording, which I'll send you all when I learn about it on Monday, tomorrow. I actually had to miss some of it because I had a lunch appointment in the middle, but anyway. So Senator Van Hollen of Maryland was their main speaker, okay, who started actually by talking about the looming government shutdown, which I think is still looming, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, and then understanding how, the Democrats are trying to make them say we'll only sign the ongoing bill to keep the government going if you'll do something about the healthcare that you're trying to demolish. So anyway, he was very well informed about nuclear weapons and why we need to get rid of them, and he talked about Trump has said actually in his UN speech on the 23rd he wants sweeping denuclearization, to quote his exact words. But he said if you look at the teams that Trump has assembled for various topics, he hasn't assembled anybody to work on nuclear weapons. or getting rid of nuclear weapons. And there's nobody really expert in this in his cabinet, or, you know, other in the past, your national security cabinet or nuclear security cabinet kind of people, you'd have people in there who really understand how they work and why we have them and things like that. Trump has not done anything. So you cannot believe him when he says, oh, I want sweeping denuclearization. Okay. He also talked about the JCPOA. So that's, as you recall, the agreement we had with Iran, that they said, oh, we're not making nuclear weapons, we're just enriching uranium. And so they allowed the International Atomic Energy Authority, IAEA, to come into the Iran buildings where all their centrifuges are, where they're actually doing this uranium enrichment, to show that, you know, they're not making weapons anywhere. Okay, so we pulled out of that JCPOA in 2018. Okay, and so because we pulled out, Iran said, oh, okay, well, you don't believe us, so we'll just carry on what we want to do, right? So they actually increased the number of these centrifuges they're called. There were at some point 20,000 of them. Used to have like 200, then it went up to 20,000. You know, that is big. Taking the uranium of the kind that you get out of the ground and then doing things to it so you get more of the type of uranium you need to run a nuclear power station. So that's what Iran says. We want nuclear power. Thank you very much. So, and so what happened in the treaty, there is this, you know, treaties have articles about what should or shouldn't happen. There's this thing called a snapback that I only learned about through this meeting, but you'll have seen it in the on newspapers. So it said that the snapback said something along the lines of, if Iran doesn't seem to be, isn't letting the monitors come in, or isn't letting, you can also have machines that sit around different places to check the amount of radioactivity, which tells you what they're really doing, then we will reimpose sanctions. This was actually an EU thing. So yesterday afternoon, the sanctions that we had taken away from Iran, the economic sanctions and the sanctions on their senior leaders, they were reimposed. Okay, so that's the snapback thing that just happened yesterday.
When were they taken away?
They were probably taken away in, you know, 2018. So they've been away for some years.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes, I can't say exactly when. I'm sorry. Let me see if it says anywhere. Anyway, so we have, all right. So this is a treaty that it needs to be redone. Okay, that's one of them. Another is the New START, right? So you've heard people talk about the New START treaty that runs out in February next year. And apparently the way it was written, we can't extend it. We can't renew it. And so just the day before, Putin and his people said to the US, we are willing to extend it for 1 year. And what does the New START treaty do? Well, it limits how many active nuclear weapons the US and Russia are allowed. Okay, there's a particular number, several thousand weapons.
I think it's 1,500 that are
1,500
deployed.
Yeah, ready to be used.
Yeah,
and so to make them equivalent, right? So if the New START treaty isn't extended by a year, it will disappear on February the 6th next. And then all bets are off. The US could have 2,000 deployed weapons. And of course, what's Russia going to do? They're going to put 2,000 deployed weapons, right? So it encourages an arm race. You know, they're going to trying to, like the modernization of the ICBMs will go ahead more vigorously.
My understanding is that one of the topics between Putin and Trump back in Alaska was about this. That was something Putin very much wanted to be addressed. Whether anything came of it, I don't know.
Well, what came of it is they have now offered, the Russians have offered to extend it.
Yeah.
Because what has to happen is a totally new agreement needs to be negotiated, okay? And that's why we don't see any movement from the Trump administration on starting to generate a brand new treaty along the lines of New START. Will be called something different. So that's another thing that we all need to be talking to our senators about, because they're the treaty organization, or writing to Trump and Rubio about, you know, please take, well, first of all, take up the offer from Russia, because they haven't said anything, and then assign people to be negotiators to go talk to the Russians, and don't assign businessmen who don't know anything about anything, please. You know, assign some people who are civil servants who've worked in this for a long time, nuclear physicists who know what they're doing, and things like that. So these were the kind of things that I learned in this Arms Control Association meeting. And a really interesting talk by video was a man called Javed Zarif, who was the foreign minister of the Islamic Republic of Iran until a few years ago. Okay. And again, he said, well, Netanyahu has been saying since the 1990s that Iran has a nuclear weapons program. He said, and that was even before they started to enrich anything. Okay, so Netanyahu has this mantra, oh yes, Iran's trying to make a nuclear weapon and then they're going to attack us, all right? So, but he was saying, no, that's not true. And he had this idea. He said, Iran's dignity depends on this, all right? That their historical pride and their dignity is very important to the Iranian people. And that's more important to them than anything else that's going on. And so what Israel is trying to do is to get a regime change in Iran, right? But that won't help, he says, because the knowledge, if you really wanted to make a nuclear weapon, they have enough nuclear scientists and physicists who could do that. Okay, and you know that's one of the things they bombed when they did bomb Iran a few months ago, was they bombed the apartment buildings where some of these nuclear scientists were living. Okay, unfortunately, they get their families and they get the neighbors killed as well. Okay, and then he said, you know, the snapback, which I just described, was the snapback coming back was not going to help diplomacy. Anyway, so you know, they actually had this man speak from Iran via a Zoom link. So it was very interesting 5-hour conference. And as I said, when I get the link to the recording, I'll send it out, and then you can all watch as much or as little as you like. Some of our members, like Alice Slater, always complains about the Arms Control Association. Oh, all they want to do is control. You know, they do. If you listen to them, they also want to abolish nuclear weapons, not just control them. All right, but the control part is treaties. Is, you know, trying to make sure that treaties are renewed, and you know, the ABM treaty went away. So there was a whole bunch of treaties that have been, you know, we've removed ourselves from the past 8 or 9 years. So getting some of them back, and then the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which we did actually ratify. But we're all ignoring Article 6 that says we're going to start to disarm. That's in the NPT. So anyway, treaties, and you know, some of you know that I wrote a very long article on treaties, and that is really important to get some of them back on the front burner. Okay, so those were the things I wanted to talk about.
I just had a couple of things to say. So it was 3 countries regarding the snapback of sanctions imposed that were dropped 10 years ago with the
10 years.
JCPOA. Yeah, when that was
So who-
signed 10 years ago. So
Yes.
yeah, so just 3 countries, but there's England, France, and Germany are the 3 countries.
European countries, and somewhere I read that they actually are stricter sanctions than the ones that were imposed 10 years ago.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then I do want to say, you were saying Trump is kind of going on against nuclear. He had an announcement, executive orders aimed for nuclear. So there's he had 4 executive orders to reinvigorate the nuclear energy and industry in the United States. So they're ongoing. So we are building up the nuclear stuff here.
Yes. So,
yeah,
I mean,
just-
some people refuse to see the connection between nuclear energy power stations and nuclear weapons. So some people say they want more nuclear energy, ignoring that connection. So, and because, we're asking the fossil fuel people to disappear. So some people are saying, oh yes, we're going to replace them with nuclear energy. Ignoring the fact that we'd rather replace things with wind farms and
solar.
And of course, he doesn't like wind farms because they're ugly and they're outside his beautiful Scottish golf course.
Well, solar anyway. Okay.
Ellen, did you have your hand up a moment ago? No. Okay. So thank you. That's so I actually I've got some toolkits that I will point you to about how to do what we want to ask regarding a follow-on agreement that mimics New START. It isn't New START, but it's a new agreement. That how we talk to our Republican members, our Democratic members, what talking points should we be putting when we do speak to them or write to them. So I will be sending that out. Okay, thank you.
So the next item is Gloria's letter to Rubio and other officials. Gloria?
You have to.
Yeah, I'm here. Just a minute. Can't get my screen up. Yep. And you're going to give me a minute here. I have to get another background on one of these 2 people we're going to be writing to. I don't know how much of this will print up in chat. I want this to go into the chat so we have a record of it.
Okay.
Let's see if that's actually going to make it or not.
You've written quite a bit in the chat, and you're going to add more. And
Oh, lots. Yeah,
say
we have to
anything
have it
to
in the
us?
chat. Thank you very much for your comment. I wanted to go in the chat. Okay, starting my remarks now. We have our letter to Rubio. That can be the template. And there are undersecretaries to Rubio. So if you look at their brag pages, my term for brag pages is what they have out there that they have achieved, whether it's on their campaign pages or their actual official pages at the UN or wherever they are, State Department. So when you're addressing these people as individuals, not making a manifesto or a statement on an issue, these are letters to individuals. The best way to go is to note a couple things that they have done well before asking them to do anything. That's, a way to get a window into their people. They will not throw it away. They will say, oh, this isn't just accusing us of anything. This is justly praising us for what we've done. And then you can get into what you're asking for. I did send that letter out, I think once or twice already to Disarm. I can send it again.
No, it was a good letter. I thought it was good.
Some
Okay.
people have said,
already followed the advice of the one person is all I saw who gave some substantive comments, and I incorporated those and I've sent it off to Rubio. So I have not done his undersecretaries. Now you can use that main letter as your template. I suggest that you do. It saves a lot of time, but you can't just fire off that same template to the undersecretaries. You have to go to their brag pages, see what they have done, whether that's their campaign pages or other Wikipedia pages. They are the things that these people have accomplished and that they're proud of, and show that you understand them. They will not listen to people who simply come to them with demands and things that, without knowing who you are, and we don't care and we don't think you're worth anything, do this for us. That isn't a good rhetorical strategy, because how do you react when people do that to you? So, you know, the best way to approach people is to say, well, I understand it's been a very difficult year and you're just coming into this job, but I see you've already done A and B. That's an achievement. And then from there you say, well, in our group, we have concerns and we've had a hard time too. And these are some things we hope that you'll cooperate with us on, or something like that. So that's the batch that I'm on right now, is the State Department people. Next, I think would be a good thing to see who in the UN should we be approaching. And that's what all this detailed stuff I just put into the chat is. I did some research. There is a unit of the UN with skilled, very experienced people in humanitarian, in UNESCO, in UN affairs. And you can, I had to put it in so you get an idea that these are skilled people. These weren't just drawn out of the hat. And this is the UN, apparently, Office of United Nations Special Coordinator for Middle East Peace Process. And these people are the current ones. It's important to not have out-of-date information. As far as I could tell, this is up to date. There is a form here, but I went beyond the form and I found that you could find emails for these people, and I would use those in preference to the form. And then I gave you a brief, you know, synopsis or précis of their skills, their portfolios. There's more. You can go to their pages and find a lot more. But just reading that, you can see that these are people with a vast amount of background. And you can also refer to this as your points of what they've done well, what their achievements are when you write your letters. So that's as far as I've gotten. I think after UN, I'm opening the floor if I have a minute left or so. What other areas should we address letters to about Israel and Gaza? Should we go next to the mass media like the New York Times and the Washington Post? Or are there other governmental or you know, groups maybe in Europe or other regional global groups that we should be addressing letters to? That's open-ended question.
Yes, well, the European Parliament, for example.
And if we go to them, who in particular?
I think they have the equivalent of a speaker. You know, somebody who's in charge.
Or would there be someone specifically aimed at the Middle East in the European?
Right. Well, I would suggest, you know, somebody has to Google a bit to find that person, but
okay, so either the speaker or designated Middle East specialist.
Any
other ideas?
I mean, if you look at what happened yesterday in Berlin, an enormous demonstration of the German people saying that the war on Gaza has to stop. Tens of thousands of, you know, they said, the police said 60,000, the organizers said 100,000 people. So I think bigger demonstrations than some of the ones we've had here. So anyway, that's one reason I suggested a European organization, to show that, you know, besides their own people demonstrating in Berlin, there are other people who want this to stop. And
So you could-
Germany has provided some weapons. I believe one of the reasons is Germany is one of the countries who's provided weapons to Israel.
Right, yeah, we know that. And so you would say maybe this is one of the points to bring up to anybody in the EU is that we have seen the size of these demonstrations and maybe cite the article where they were published and that you know that you have your own people are anxious for this war to end. And you know, something like that, that we hope you're working alongside your people who are showing up in such massive numbers to end this horrible
Right.
and tragic genocide.
All right.
So that's where I'm at. And you know, basically this is the process, is that we're not doing statements, we're not doing manifestos, we're writing to one real person. And it's a whole different ball of wax than writing a manifesto to the world.
Okay.
Alina?
About groups we're connected to, are we connected with the Women International Group Against NATO? They do a lot of stuff. I think they have like an encampment in Brussels or something like that. Are
Yes,
we connected with them at all?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
sure
we
we
are.
are. Yeah, yeah, I go to their meetings too. Ula and Pipa and
Right.
Margaret and
So-
Kate Hudson, they're key members.
And Nancy Price, who isn't going to be here, kind of works with them, and then
Yeah.
Ellen Mass works with them.
And Anne Wright has worked with them as well.
Right, right. So officially, Wilf's position, I believe Wilf International's position is we don't like NATO. And then Disarm's position, this committee's position is we don't like NATO. We want to get rid of it.
So when you say disarm, are we pretty much national?
This committee is considered an issue committee of National WILPF US. And I think, I can't remember what we've done about getting the board of directors to agree that we don't like NATO. Can anybody remember?
It was a big discussion a few months ago, and it came across that was the policy, basically.
Yeah. So WILPF US has said through our board of directors, because they're the ones who have to okay statements of this magnitude, that yes, we want NATO to go. So what happens, Galina, is, you know, issue committee comes up with a policy they'd like to see the WILPF US adopt. And so then they describe it, and then they forward it to the board of directors, get it on their agenda. The board of directors discusses it and either agrees or disagrees with this policy statement.
Okay.
Or just policy. That might not be a long statement, but it's actually a stance.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm not remembering. Is anyone who's here today on the board and getting the minutes? So you can check to be sure that it's there. From that.
Diane, you're on the board.
I'm secretary, so I'm supposed to write the minutes.
There you go.
But what I was talking about wasn't quite the procedure that Cheryl talked about. Someone objected to our position on NATO. Then there was a big discussion, a member that I don't remember. So then there was a big discussion all over, people put in da. And, but yeah, so I don't.
A vote was taken.
Maybe no action that would be reported in the minutes.
Right. It was all these emails and discussion, and we've only had 2 board meetings this year, you know, so I don't.
Didn't we do it last year? Didn't we actually start this last year?
Well, this was a specific incident that came up this year, I believe, but I don't remember last year.
Okay, sorry to be so vague, everybody.
Yeah, but it was discussed at length by, yeah. So anyway.
Sounds as if it might or might not be useful to try to do some kind of motion for a position of an action.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, okay.
Or is it?
I'd like
Maybe
to
we
see it
should say that
worse.
we would like disarm to make it clear, we would like to make clear that it's verify if that's the position of NATO or that's a position of
Will.
WILPF US. We
Yeah.
want to clarify that is our position because that's what disarm goes, and we want to clarify that that's WILPF US. So we'll put
Thank
that,
you.
yeah.
My
Okay,
hand is up.
Gloria?
Yeah, I would like to know the nature of the objection.
Oh, she thought NATO was good. Lots
Oh,
of
so
people.
it wasn't that she had a concern about our nonprofit status because it might be too
We're not
politically
non-
partisan. She actually differed personally.
Right, right.
Okay, I thought it was more, it might
We
be.
have to leave WILPF because we were not for NATO, and she thought NATO was great. That was basically.
And who is she?
There was just a member who
Oh.
became aware of our position on NATO, and then there was all this discussion about it.
So she
And
wasn't on the board. She wasn't a board member.
no, I don't remember her name. I never had heard of her.
If there's a motion and we do come up with a position, then what happens? Where does it go next?
Then supposedly we have this statements web page on our website, and we're supposed to put things there where it is a definite policy position that is clear. And so eventually we try to get statements there. The production of a new website took so long, got us so far behind that we have not actually put some statements up that we should. So the statement that we made on detente in Europe is still hanging out, and it's on my to-do list, is to try to get, at least to get it on our our own Disarm webpage. I realize the best place to put it is our own Disarm webpage.
And so if it's on our webpage, do we have letters to the UN, letters to Congress? But what about connections to international organizations like the anti-NATO? Is there, do we have a system of connecting with them?
Not as much as I would like. This is the kind of thing I'm trying to push our new executive director to do. She has some ideas, and if you've attended her town hall meetings and you filled in that long survey that she asked us to do, she's kind of chosen a couple of projects that she's paying attention to. So we suffer from those of us in this committee not having enough time to do some of this. Once you've got it on a website, usually it's a PDF, then yes, you can point to it. And I did send a statement last year to a bunch of our other sister organizations because I had their email addresses. Okay, but having it on our website, so then all you have to do is point to it for other people. So Galina, if you had time, for example, to do some of that kind of work, once it's up there, to be pointing it out to similar organizations or not similar, we don't, sometimes it's not necessary to preach to the choir, as they say. We need to preach to the people who are not in the choir, who are
well, but I guess my idea is coalition building.
Right. Well, we are members of many coalitions already, and those were the people we sent the detente statement to just by email because it wasn't posted anywhere. But I have it as a PDF, and I sent it. And several of them wrote back and said, "Yes, very good statement. We like it." I see Gloria's hand up.
Right. So Gloria?
Okay, unmuted. I had a question and nobody answered me at the board of directors, and that is, let's say we have a statement to the world up on our website. Nobody seems to be willing to tell me what that actually means in terms of how many views the WILPF website
gets. Well, Glenn can tell you how many views.
He doesn't. I've written and asked, and he doesn't tell.
Okay, well, he has that because in 2 or 3 5 years ago, I asked those kind of questions, you know.
Well, I think it
And-
should be asked again, and I think that's fair freedom of information to get from Glenn.
Yeah.
Because,
So,
you know, we need to know, are we seeing, are 5 people a week, 5,000, 5 million? How many people are
Yeah.
viewing the web?
actually
It's
coming.
just
Well,
basic information.
that's why I've been pressing on Linda that she needs to be. That's why I believe press releases would bring more attention to our website. But she's not a believer in press releases. Okay, or she's not a believer in them being useful to us at the moment. So yeah, driving people to your website is why people spend thousands of dollars on getting that to happen to their websites. And
And I don't think that's
when I
necessary.
go to these coalition meetings, I'm putting in the chat, go and look at this website from WILPF, you know, a Right to the Disarm chair email if you'd like a copy of thus and such. And occasionally I hear somebody writes, says, yes, I'd like a copy of that. And then, you know, I tell them, go to this URL. I don't know how many people, you know, say, some people save the chat, some people actually go to these things, but that's what I'm doing.
We need to get the figures on how many views the website
Yeah,
has.
it's
I
not,
don't think that's
it's
a
not
very,
going to be very many. You know, it's
Well,
not.
wait. I don't know. Gloria, the communications committee. Joan, are you on that? I know Ellen is.
Not
Um,
communications. I'm on the website committee.
Well, that
that's
sounds like even
the-
better
yeah,
to ask Glenn if he
Discuss.
can give us some stats.
Yeah. Well, it'd be good if it comes from this committee, but I'll see what I can do.
Well,
Okay, so I'm writing
Gloria-
myself a note.
yeah, Gloria said she wrote already twice, right,
yeah,
Gloria?
it was. I've asked, I think twice.
Well,
Okay.
but maybe coming from Joan and that committee will be, he'll be paying more attention.
I hope so.
Maybe. Yeah, so we'll work on it, Gloria. We'll try to get stats. I think stats are good to be given regularly, actually, you know, some stats of where we
Ellen Schwartz is the go-between with Glenn Ruga.
Oh,
Yes. I'll
So-
check in with Gloria. Excuse me, with Ellen Schwartz.
okay. And Gloria, you could write to Ellen Schwartz
I
too.
haven't written to her because that was not made clear that she's the go-between. Now that's
now-
new news.
yeah.
to me.
She chairs the website committee.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, good. Okay, so I think we're on to the next item, which is PEP. And Judith basically has stepped down as executive director of PEP because of health concerns. So I will be reporting for PEP from now on, kind of. And she basically wants to know about PEP parties, if there have been any, and I don't believe there have been. But we do want to promote having these PEP parties. I mean, Disarm was, you know, was wonderful and said they'll pay $40 for each one that tries, but we need to publicize it, I guess, more and to kind of work and try to do that. So that's what we want. That's what is needed for PEP. Okay, yes, Cheryl?
But she does have other people who are mostly in San Diego, right? Who are working on PEP. She's
Yes.
just stepping back as the
ED,
overall
executive
leader.
director. Yeah.
But there are these other women who are very competent, who are carrying on doing some of the things. And Diane has taken on the job of liaising with us with Disarm. So when in the agenda it says a report from PEP, Diane is, because Diane does attend meetings of the PEP
Right.
team.
Forgive me, what is PEP?
It's
Okay.
it's called
Project Enduring Peace, and it's a
Project
major
Enduring Peace,
yes,
okay.
it's as Judith explains it, it's a way to get countries. It's a runaround to just try to get people to peace, to have countries committed for peace efforts, and hopefully no more wars again. So, and Judith has a lot of information on the websites. Go to, if you Google Project Enduring Peace, you can get to the websites and watch videos and learn all about the project. So, yeah, I believe it's a great effort, I think, to try to bring peace to the world. So we're trying to, she wants 100,000 signatures in a petition. That's what we're going for, 100,000. So far, we've only had like 600, but that's why we want to have peace parties to get people to sign the petition. And then we can bring it to people and say, huh?
To the UN, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. And we write to the UN regularly, every other month, pretty much, different people, parliamentarians and certain ambassadors, and trying to get them just to realize that there is this project that we're trying to have, that the goal is enduring peace. So I recommend watching some of her videos and stuff.
Yeah, maybe you could bring this up at the next Jane Addams meeting.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Maybe we can show her film.
Well, I have before. I've had her on twice
Oh.
at Jane Addams meetings. So, and we have done that. But anyway, we just want to keep it kind of fresh to hope, to keep it people aware, and hopefully there will be some further involvement by WILF members.
If you go to the WILPF US YouTube channel and go to the branches playlist, the Jane Addams monthly meetings are posted there. And the one that Judith did with you, I think her name is in the description. So
yeah, she's done
if
too.
anybody, and the film that she had put together is shown there in that meeting. So if you want to learn more about it, that's one good way to get started.
WILPFUStoday.org. Yeah.
No, WILPF US Today on YouTube.
YouTube.
Oh, not org.
No.
Oh, WILPF US Today YouTube. Okay.
YouTube.com/WILPF US Today.
Yeah. Lots and lots of videos there, recordings of things we've done over the past 10 or so years.
Sorts of videos, lots and lots and lots.
We thank Ellen Thomas very much for being the person who realizes they should be there, puts them in the correct position in the playlists, and keeps track of everything. And so we're very grateful that Ellen does
And
that.
I also edit the WILP.
Yes. So, for example, today we spent 15 minutes chit-chatting before the meeting actually started, because we were waiting for some of you to come on to feel we had a quorum. And I know that Ellen Thomas, when she looks at the recording, is going to say, oh, no, we'll cut this bit out. Thank you, Ellen. So it's because it wasn't really pertinent to the meeting. And then at some point we say, okay, we're really starting. So that's the kind of thing that Ellen will do for us to produce, sensible.
And if you want to see a disarm meeting that you missed, within a few days it will be posted to the Disarm and Wars playlist, which is, you can either go into the playlists and find it on the list, or you can just go down the page until you see it.
Okay.
You want me to pull that up and show people?
Okay, well, we're running, it's 6:25 here. Probably not. No, I think we need to barrel on here and try to finish.
She can show it to us without us we don't have to stop the meeting in order for her to show it to us.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so if you want to go on while she brings it up, let's see. I don't think any other issue committees are reporting.
Right. Nancy Price sends her regrets. She's got a big family reunion going on in the East Coast, and she promises when she's back in Davis, she will come and give us some proper reports on Earth Democracy and what they're doing. And
Cool.
I'm surprised that unfortunately I don't see Odile here, although we did have a fairly good discussion about Gaza earlier in this meeting. And there is the Global Women for Peace United Against NATO. And earlier in the chat, before she left, Alan Mass gave us the link to the next meeting of that group, which, because they're in Europe, tends to be at an awkward time for some of us. Anyway, so you can join that group. Yes, we can. And so similarly, yeah, so you can see now all the videos here, branch videos, so different, there, how to host a pet party. All right.
I am very.
So things like that. So it's all there. Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Oh, well.
Can we rush to number X10, the divesting topic?
Oh, well, what, Joan?
I just wondered, can you put the URL for that you had up, which was really hard to read for me anyway, in the chat or something? Can you go back to it and put and copy and paste the URL into the chat so we can look at it?
For Judith Hand, you mean?
Or just in general?
The playlist URL for the page that Ellen just had up. It's great, but it went away.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
All right. So just rushing over to institute to divestment. So there was going to be a meeting, a global, what WILPF International calls a global call, on the 23rd last week. It was like 3 a.m. my time, so I did not go. Did anybody go to this meeting to reflect on the plan for Move the Money?
I think I was there, but late.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that hour, I can only think I was there, but I think I was there. And I didn't get there much before 4:45 or so, and it was wearing down by then.
So I'm guessing, I think, what I do, what the rest of you can do is, even if you think you're not actually going to go, you register. And then for sure, when the recording comes out, you're told. But also, they're very good. If you get the My WILPF emails from WILPF International, which you will if you've signed up for My WILPF, there should be a recording of that meeting, which is their plan to have a divestment campaign. Many organizations have divestment campaigns, some of which we have already worked with. So ICANN has one, Warheads to Windmills has one, there's one,
I am
back from the brink. So none of you, and Gloria, you can't.
very pleased, very honored to be able to.
Sorry about that.
Oh,
Shut myself off.
all right. But I did say that WILPF US Disarm Committee should be involved in this money plan, because we already have it as a campaign on our list of 12 campaigns. So obviously we should take part. So Odile and I had earlier committed to do some divestment. So I will be nudging Odile and trying to catch up with what WILPF International is doing. They have a toolkit and everything that's already up on their website. So, by and large, you're trying to get institutions to divest from having money in Lockheed Martin and things like that. So, so what we're trying to do is similar to what all these other organizations, but where do you put the money that you are not investing there? That's the question. How are you using that money elsewhere? And that's where the kind of the feminist attitude, the feminist focus comes into play for WILPF International. I think that's what I can say. It's not, if you read other places, they're not particularly focusing on women or anything, but that's what WILPF WILF does, of course. We try to focus on the women aspect of everything. Okay.
So I think that we're on to treasurer's report. If Ellen wants to give it. And then the next item was the next meeting, which is 12th October. Okay, Ellen?
So my news is that I'm not going to be using the $350 that were voted for me because I'm not going to Arizona.
You're not going
to
where?
I'm not going to Nevada. I'm resigning from the Alliance for Nuclear Accountability Board, but I'm not going to
Use the $350.
I'm not going to Nevada for the fall meeting. I will attend it. I'll attend the meetings up until then when they'll be electing somebody to replace me, but I
Well-
can't afford to go. $350 would be about 1/3 of what it would cost, and I just don't have
Why
that.
are you leaving?
Pardon?
Why are you leaving?
Because it's not a fit. Like I left the board of WILPF because I was put into the position of personnel chair, and that was about the last thing I should have been put into. And with ANA, they made me treasurer, and I hate working with money and figures. And
And you're our treasurer.
yeah, well, for you, it's just bookkeeping, Bill. Yeah, but no, I just I don't have time. I'm doing the archives and writing a book, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to be decisive and make your choices.
yeah, and I gave them a couple of months to think about who they were going to ask to replace me. So
But Pam Richard, who is also a member of this committee,
yeah,
and
well, I don't know if she wants to be treasurer, but
she's on the board.
and she's also very busy. She works for 2 organizations.
But didn't she finish with one of them?
Yes, I thought so.
Did she? That's good.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
well, thank you for, keeping us apprised of what goes on there.
So we have $1,888 in,
1,800
I
and
believe. Let me
88.
double check here. No,
One-
1880,
1808. Yes.
1880 and 77 cents.
Sorry, say that again. Just
18807.77.
Okay, thank you. Which is essentially what it was
It's
before.
exactly what it was.
Right. And we had, Diane, maybe you weren't here when we said we'd give her $350 to help her.
I read it in the minutes. Yeah.
Yes, to
So,
go, but she's not going to use that now.
right.
You'll resign. Thank you for telling us all that.
Could I ask, perhaps it was discussed earlier, the flotilla, is there any update on the flotilla?
They will be having a live stream. If you go to that website and you look at and you click on live stream, they say they'll be doing one at 9 a.m. in some time zone tomorrow.
Okay,
I don't know what time zone, probably some Mediterranean time zone, which means it's like 9 hours ahead of us.
Mm.
So they haven't, it hasn't reached the BBC News or anything like that, that they've demolished all the boats or anything. So the boats are still going. There's 53 of them.
Wow.
And so that makes it harder. The idea, of course, was to have so many boats that the IDF couldn't deal with all of them. And some of them will get through, etc., etc. So please go to that website. I think I put it in.
Did you already talk about this earlier in the
Yes.
meeting?
Yes.
Did you have anything? And so there will be, just to say,
Did you put a chat in the meeting about that?
it's
I
in
mean,
the agenda.
a
Well,
link in the chat, because I can't see it if you did, because I came in late.
no, it's just in the agenda.
It's in the agenda, okay.
Yes, please. There's a link to their website, and then you can go to various things, which reminds me. So there is an organization called the Campaign for Disarmament and Common Security, run by Joseph Gerson, a very knowledgeable, experienced peacemaker, Joseph Gerson. And he has an event coming up on October just a minute, the 9th, that some of you, if you're on his email list, you'll have seen this. He's asking people how to run or how to generate peace and justice movements. And Anne Wright is one of his speakers. And Cole Harrison from MAPA is another speaker.
What time?
I got it down as 4 o'clock my time, so it's 7 o'clock your time. And it's the Thursday the 9th. This only came in after I'd done the agenda, but I will
Yeah.
be trying to
You
put
can
that.
go to MAPA. It's a MAPA. I have it listed as a MAPA.
Yeah, so he uses the MAPA IT people to help him do this. I mean, he had that BB talk, George BB, that I told you about. He had like 400 people or something, so he's doing a lot of advertising. He uses, a lot of other organizations to spread the knowledge that there is this webinar. You have to register. And so he uses the MAPA auspices of they've paid for the kind of Zoom meeting where you can have maybe 1,000 people. So anyway, I believe Anne Wright is a member of WILF. So I don't know that she's on the flotilla herself right now, but she is kind of one of their back home helpers. Yes, Robin.
Yeah, so maybe it also has been announced, but both Ellen Thomas and I don't know whether Cheryl, you might be involved in this on October 4th that Mary Beth Garton is putting together, which
Yes.
I
Yes.
think
Sorry.
could be very interesting.
Yeah.
It starts with me, the old lady of WILF, with my son, and me discussing with him what it's like to be in a activist family, and frankly, I was totally surprised at what my son said. I had never really asked him before, so I think it's going to be kind of interesting. And so, Ellen, who are you talking with?
I am going to be talking with a young woman from Peace Action, New York, Margaret. I forget what her last name is. And
This is the Voices of Resilience. It's actually a fundraiser for
yeah, what time was that happening? I'm
10
sorry.
a.m. my time.
Okay.
So
One,
it's
1 our time,
1
Ellen.
o'clock your time.
Yeah.
And I did pay. It is a fundraiser. You can come in for as little as $10, but if you can, they'd like you to donate more than $10.
Of course.
But you can also let people know.
Other
If you
people.
want lots of people to go. You can let people know that they don't have to pay anything if they can't afford it.
Mhm.
If maybe they'll feel uncomfortable about coming if they haven't paid, but I'm going to be and have permission to. I'm going to be posting it up on YouTube, and it will be at the top of the page.
Okay. So
First
thank you
item
for
on the
reminding me
page.
about that. So the other thing, when you said Mary Beth, I see in my notes here. So, you know that one of the countries that's being bombed by the US are these ships belonging to Venezuela that our government say are drug running ships. I don't know if they are or they aren't, but they are bombing these ships in the Caribbean. And Peggy Dobbins she couldn't be here today, trying to look into this some more to understand more about the oil in Venezuela. And then Mary Beth has just been writing to some of us to remind us that we have an expert on oil in general, Catherine Dennett,
Charlotte Dennett.
Charlotte Dennett, pardon me, I should know because she worked with me on the timeline. Charlotte Dennett, who knows a great deal about oil in general, and that maybe we could have a webinar about the Venezuelan oil and why should we worry about Venezuela being bombed because I believe Trump is now saying he's going to bomb other things in Venezuela, if I remember right, that the Earth Democracy would be interested, as it's about oil, that the money, Mary Beth's own issue committee would be interested, and maybe the Cuban and Bolivarian Alliance issue committee would be interested, and maybe between the 4 issue committees we could arrange an interesting webinar. So this idea just came up today. Okay,
That's a great idea, and I'm sure she would love to
Charlotte.
to be on that panel.
Right.
Charlotte. Yeah, she doesn't get invited enough.
Okay, so that's yes, so that's maybe a future webinar that we could have, which would, I think, would be different from a lot of the ones that you do see. This is anticipating a worsening of how the US is behaving towards Venezuela. Okay.
Great. Well, I hope that does happen. But I don't know who's going to do it. Are you planning to do it?
Well, Mary Beth put it out to 4 issue committees, so we'll have
Okay.
to see, yeah. There is
Great.
a program committee meeting this Tuesday that everybody's invited to. It's at, it's once a month. All the issue committee chairs meet. And so this, I'm just going to tell you when exactly it is. For
And
me,
while
it's
she's looking that up, she did indicate, but I want to emphasize that everybody is welcome.
to program committee, 5:30 my time.
Okay. Is there yet a Advancing Human Rights Committee once it sort of imploded with Teresa El Amin leaving?
Oh, sure there is. Yeah,
Oh.
we're having meetings. There's the border group and the house homeless group.
Uh-huh. Oh, great. Okay.
Folks to
There are
join
subgroups.
from various sources for the homelessness. In fact, I sent her about the new candidate for mayor in New York City who's really big into homeless. I think I copied you on that, Robin.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Okay. So that, what I just said about oil, that kind of goes under any other business, short reports on things that might happen. So that would be, as I'm the note taker, I should make a note of that.
Well, Mary Beth says she'd let us know what Charlotte says, so.
Right. Okay. So she's been talking to Charlotte. Okay.
Right.
You saw that. Okay. Thank you. Great. So, and we noted the next one is the 12th, our next meeting. It's the second and last Sundays of the month. The 12th. Okay.
Mhm.
I will be at a Stamford Historical Society event, but I will try to get home in time. So Diane, are we done?
No, wait. Don't we have like other things that have to be covered? Okay.
Yeah, short reports on WILF actions. Is that what you mean, Gloria? But other business. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just fast. I hope you all know that UNESCO's 42nd International Day for the Intangible Cultural Heritage is coming up on October 17th.
Okay.
And we are having a Campus WILF event at the Little Chapel of All Nations on the U of A campus, bringing in the head of the UN Center here. Lynn Norris is her name, and she's going to be showing artifacts from the UN Center. We will have international treats. So without doing what could be called DEI, this is an already existing holiday where you don't use that language. Nobody's ever heard of the international intangible heritage. They're not likely to go and kick it against it because it's not one of the buzzwords. And
So
that's
tell
an
us.
important thing in rhetoric, everyone. I want to finish my sentence here. Once something becomes a buzzword, like woke or something, then you're waving a red flag every time you use it and you're not going anywhere. It's an irresolvable conflict. But this term, the international intangible heritage, means pretty much a very similar concept of all the different cultures have a right to their cultures and their intangible heritage. So we're doing that right on campus. There won't be any protests against us because we're not using a buzzword.
Can you say the whole word, the whole name of the day again, so I could write it down?
I can send you the beautiful poster we have, and it's all on there. But once again, it is called UNESCO's 42nd Annual International Day of the Intangible International Heritage.
Intangible International
Heritage.
Heresy.
Heritage.
Heritage. Okay, it makes a difference.
Intangible International.
Maybe the other way, International Intangible Heritage, but it's
so.
correct on my poster, which I will.
And then is the word culture in there or not? Cultural.
International Intangible Heritage, Cultural Heritage. No, I think.
Cultural heritage, right. You see, I thought
International Cultural Heritage.
All right.
So when you have, this is a new way to think when you're in a really repressive situation and where certain words have become, everyone will dive on them like piranhas on a piece of red meat. Don't use those terms. Use one like the International Intangible Cultural Heritage, and people are like, huh, what's that? You know, and you go ahead and you do what you would have done under the other words, but you just don't use that.
But no one knows to come.
Yes, they do.
Well, it's an in-person thing.
Yeah. No, I don't think that it works that way, Robin. I don't think that getting into two valued arguments is the way to go, because maybe people will know to come, but then it's just us against them. No one's using any nuance or any thinking. It's going beyond the prefrontal into the fight or flight when you use those buzzwords.
Okay, I hope so.
I think it is. And I think from the whole history of rhetoric, I speak with, not because I have authority, but because I know that when you get into the Aristotelian debate, it's a no-go.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the UNESCO website, it says for 17th October, International Day of the Intangible Cultural Heritage.
Right.
That's the day. So that's great that you're going with it.
And another thing that's from rhetoric is you look at these and you note them because of the kairos. Y'all remember what kairos is? Timeliness. That's the Greek word for timeliness. And you need time for lead-in time. So, you know, you need to find these, anything you're going to move on about a month, at least a month in advance for publicity, setting it up. But if you can make your meetings timely and have something truly meaningful, like bringing that woman in from the UN Center, people will respond, and they're not going to respond in a polemical, combative way, which I'm getting really tired of, because we're no better than the other side if that's all we can set up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to say something. All right. Well, thank you for doing that.
Well, hopefully other people can do it too. You know, there's maybe not time this year. Oh, the other thing real fast is Bilderberg. You know how that's kind of dropped out. I want you to know it's way out of sync now in terms of kairos or timeliness. Their meetings, which are very secretive and which we should be tracking, are always May through June. So when I start up again on Bilderberg, there's no point. I'll do research and try to have a e-news article on it, but more, you know, when it's timely.
Well, yes, thank you. What I was going to say, oh God, now it's gone out of my head again. So yes, there are many things we could all be doing, paying attention to, and so I thank you for coming to this Disarm meeting. As I say, quite a few people did send their regrets, and but you know, we have the committee list, which I will be sending some things to, and then the AI has been working, I think. Yes. So the AI will be reading what the transcript says we said, and then they'll be making this next steps list, which is usually pretty good to remind us what we all promised we'd do.
Sure.
Wow. Okay, thank you for holding us together, Cheryl. You're doing a great job.
All right, so I
And I want to apologize for the fact that I didn't interrupt people and say, oh, we're running out of time, we're running out of time, because everything that everybody was saying didn't want to be interrupted.
Yes, I appreciate that, but
But
it's now 6:51, so essentially it's been a 2-hour meeting because we really didn't start
That's
recording
right.
until 12 minutes to 5. So
Good
I'm going
point.
to say that Diane adjourned us at 6:50. All right.
Okay.
10 minutes.
Well, thank you.
That
Thank
works
you.
for me.
All right.
Okay, good night, everyone. Take
Good night.
care.
Enjoy.
Bye. Who's doing the minutes so I can
I
send?
am.
Okay. Bless your heart.
I know, bless your heart.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
thank you, everybody. Keep on keeping on, as they say.
Love
Good
you
night.
all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Save the chat. Let me just save the chat before I leave. Yes.